Hello, folks. Welcome to Monday Techthusiasm Live podcast. I have a story today that will reaffirm everybody's, say, interest and tendency towards home theater. That is a participant, supporter, and in the common mindset of this channel in regards to our interest in home theater from some crazy thing about our Superman commercial cinema experience this weekend. It's pretty wild. So, how's everybody doing? Busy weekend just ended here. We had a lot of stuff going on, a lot of fun. Hung out with some friends, saw some family, some birthdays in the extended family. Saw Superman, of course. Checked out a street fair at a local one town south of here. Had a really great time. Get ready for another long weekend coming up. Another in Michigan long weekend getaway, which will be pretty fun this coming weekend. So everybody out there, pop a comment. Let me know who's here. I see Julius. Hello. See Michael. How's it going, guys? So what's been going on? Did anybody pick up anything cool in Prime Week? All the Prime sales. I didn't see a lot of activity kind of coming through. I wasn't really shopping for much though this week. I was actually looking back just a little bit ago at what have I really bought this year as we've gotten now into July. What have I bought versus what am I considering? What things am I shopping? What things am I looking at? And it's definitely been much less of a spendy year than last year was, but that's okay. We've got some big goals that we're setting up here, basically pay this house off and stuff coming up. I'm actually spending a lot of time analyzing the path towards that. Hey, Joe, what's up? Hey, folks. So yeah, if you picked up anything interesting in the Amazon sales and all the offshoot copycat sales, let me know. Srin, he didn't grab anything either. I did buy one thing. I did buy not tech, but and I actually missed the best sale. Target and Amazon were both running like a buy two get one free book sale. I think it was also probably on other media and stuff as well. But my son's been asking. He wants to get into like tabletop role playing. Particularly, there's a newish. It's only about a year old, maybe a year and a half-ish old. A new rule system for Marvel. So it's called Marvel Multiverse, and so we actually ordered anyway. They'll come tomorrow, but we picked up a few copies of the rule books and some of the supporting books and stuff that go with it. So we're elevating from all of our Marvel Champions card games up to potentially full-on tabletop role playing. He's been watching some of his buddies play Dungeons and Dragons at some of their get-togethers, and he caught some interest in wanting to play. And then I'm like, well, there's this Marvel one. So last weekend, actually, when we were at Barnes & Noble, we were flipping through the rule and some of the expansion books, and he was really interested in it. So yeah, so that stuff's on its way. I'll be reading a lot, trying to get ready to be a game master for maybe him and his buddies, get a little gaming group or something together for that. So yeah, not really much of anything going on in the system the last week. Still have the same things sitting on my to-do list. UPS, the living room remodel, reconstruction, and all that is still pending. I haven't gotten a response from the one contractor that I had spoken with a couple weeks ago. So I guess we'll count the weeks here. We'll mark the weeks for being ghosted, potentially by yet another contractor. But I hope that comes to comes to pass. If not, I'm gonna have to go back to our old builder or go looking at some Facebook groups or something, try and find some construction companies. Oh yeah, the doorbell. Actually, I did get I need to write them back. Dan and I were chatting a little bit this week. I think perhaps actually it could even be next Monday potentially. I think we'll get an opportunity to do the second half of the rest of the setup, which would actually get me running Control4 X4, get the overseas stuff connected, be able to finally play with a few other aspects of the equipment that I already have kind of sitting here pending. And so there'll be a little bit more network setup and connectivity and other things for that as well. So yeah, we'll see how that transpires. Hey, Chintaput, welcome guys, welcome everybody. So one thing I realized, much to my chagrin, I bought my 5090 for a whopping $3,300, uh, May 22nd. And right at that time, it was becoming very, very clear. It was starting to become clear to me that these cards were like sitting. They were starting to sit, like they weren't selling out the day that Micro Center got them in stock. They were kind of sitting for a couple days, and then after we went and finally got the Zotac card, they were sitting for about a week or so, and then stock was actually building up. And then for a little while there, like Micro Center had everything. Like they had just about every 5090 that you could want to buy. And I checked it. I was curious to see because I was certain at some point in time the prices on these things had to come back down to some better reality. And wouldn't you know, they're all marked down at Micro Center now. So if I would have just waited, well, what would have been almost 2 months though. If I would have just waited a couple months, um, the card that I bought is like $500 cheaper, and they even had other Zotecs that were even cheaper than that. So you can go to Micro Center today and walk out with a 5090 for like $700 less than I did 2 months ago. I'm sure the value that I sold the 4090 for is down as well. So there's probably some evening out in there because if I would have spending less on the 5090s, the 4090s had to be getting cheaper as well. So maybe my dollars in and out of pocket would have worked out the same. But when I pulled up the Micro Center stock today, I was surprised and kind of appalled that I spent so much money on it. It's wild. Yeah, Terminator. So looking at Micro Center right now, geez, what is there? Let's see, 30, 40, 50, 60. There's, what is this? Probably about 100. There's probably about 150 cards. There's probably about 150 5090 cards in stock in the Detroit Micro Center. And most of them have like price cuts. PNY price slashed by $300. The cheaper Zotac, solid overclocked, $2,600. I paid 33 for my Amp Extreme. The Amp Extreme is down to 2,800. That's a $500 reduction. A couple $100 reduction on this MSI. It's crazy. Not all of them are reduced in price yet, but there's quite a few of them now that are at least like under 3,000. So yeah, time to buy GPUs. So um, okay, I don't know what this dude's problem is. See ya. Yeah, so I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, $500 cheaper, pretty wild. So yeah, that's that. But nothing else really going on in the system today. So content. That's really what I was having to kind of chat about here tonight or today. So we did start Ironheart on the Marvel side. Watched the first couple of episodes. We haven't been back to watch anymore. Of course, it's only a 6 episode season. I thought it was kind of meh. I don't think that was at least the first two, maybe a little bit of a slow burn. She was, I think, Riri was striking me as a very unlikable character, and I think her choices and actions in the show weren't really helping at all as well. So I am looking forward still to seeing the appearance of Mephisto and the appearance of some more of like the mystical evil aspect of the MCU to kind of show up. See if that stuff gets used. Plants a seed that gets used further on down the road. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. So, but I wasn't super impressed with the show. I wasn't finding it super, super, super entertaining. The heist thing in episode 2, I guess, was interesting. It was pretty cool. I guess maybe the way they pulled it off. The armor suits are always neat, of course. A copy of Iron Man, but I just didn't feel that I don't think she's a super great character. The way that they're defining her, she was much more to me more annoying um, than interesting, or a character that I wanted to like root for or kind of develop a fan relationship with. Now, Superman though, so Superman. So as I've alluded to many times on the channel, I've been a long time comic book reader since probably thereabouts, geez, before fourth grade, maybe thirdish grade. I remember buying some of my first comic books, like early GI Joe, Marvel GI Joe, and I happened into like X-Men, Avengers, Marvel Comics, and then of course Batman and Superman, other big characters. So I've read a lot of books over those years. Most of my life I've been I've been reading something, some in some phases of my life, maybe buying less comics or collecting less comics, and reading less than others. Definitely in a high phase, back again into a high phase right now, as I've been into it really big with my son. But I've always liked Superman as a character, of course. I mean, he's basically the original superhero, late 1930s Action Comics #1. Um, and I like the characters that are like stalwart heroes. That's Captain America's, Spider-Man are some of my favorites. Like the characters that have the guts, they have just an innate sense of right and wrong. They have an innate sense of justice. They have just an innate sense of or a drive basically to try to do the right things. Right. These are aspirational characters. They're modern heroes of myth, and so it is as we've gone through the decades of characters and then like the darker characters and anti-hero characters. I was a fan of those as well in different ways, but something about like the Captain Americas and the Supermans stands out to me as something. So, and I've read a decent amount of Superman. Obviously, there's quite a lot out there, but I think I've read probably a significant amount of like Superman's key stories and whatnot over the years. So I think I've got a good sense of the character. And there's the going into this movie, I think has been a really interesting progression. Of course, everything nowadays is politicized. Everything nowadays has to be argued and challenged. And there's definitely like huge contingents of online debate about like what era of Superman is better because we're coming out of the more recent like Zack Snyder Man of Steel um, era Superman. Of course, that was the break. There was a hard pull on the brakes um, for that in order to kind of reboot everything with James Gunn and try to start this stuff over. DC has not had and Warner have not had a great track record of sustained success. Of course, with their characters in the movie business, they've had success in pockets, of course, and there's been great movies. We go all the way back to like Batman '89 or the Christopher Reeve Superman. The Dark Knight trilogy, of course, was great, but trying to build or happen into building the way that Marvel has done, they just haven't been able to do it. So but I couldn't wait. I did see that already. Superman is up for pre-order in the Kaleidescape movie store, but I have a feeling that it's not going to be. I think the movie's doing well. I think it's going to get pretty decent word of mouth coming out of opening weekend, and so I suspect that the theatrical run, unless it just like hits a wall and falls off hard, it probably won't be until maybe later this summer or this fall, maybe that the movie's available to watch at home. So I just didn't want to wait, especially this one. I probably could wait for some other of maybe the movies to come in the DC universe to wait to see them when they come home rather than going out to the theater. But given that this is the apex movie, right? This is the foundational pillar movie for anything and everything that James Gunn is trying to accomplish, Warner Brothers and DC are trying to accomplish. I really wanted to see it because I wanted to just be part of the conversation and watch a bunch of videos and read a bunch of opinions and whatnot and be able to um, interact with the things that other people are saying about the movie, kind of cross reference with my own opinions at the same time. So I couldn't wait. So another $70 to take the family of four, 60, $70 to take the family of four. We all went and saw it. I guess I could have just went myself, or maybe we didn't all need to go as well. But I like to do stuff as a family. So we all went last night. 7 p.m. showing. Imagine Theater, Super EMX screen. As usual, I think the presentation of the movie is great. If I don't know, I forget again if Imagine Theaters is like a nationwide thing or if that's just a Michigan thing. I know they're all over Michigan actually, because we were looking if we couldn't get the movie in this weekend, just debating like, well, maybe when we're up north this coming weekend, maybe we could go see it somewhere up there. And actually, was it Imagine? I think it was an AMC actually. So imagine maybe like a Southeast Michigan thing, but Super EMX is like massive IMAX, super Dolby Atmos sound, like big recliners with a lot of space in front of you, so you're separated from the row, like the row ahead and the row behind. Generally pretty comfortable overall experience, although I prefer my seats here. No headrests and no movable headrests in the Super EMX seats. So you end up sitting back a lot. I like my head forward. Maybe I just have bad posture or something with my shoulders and neck. But as I recline back, I like to keep my head up more. But I thought the movie looked and sounded great. I'm kind of I thought Minecraft was one of the best, sharpest video that I've seen in a long time, and I have a suspicion. I think that when Superman comes home, because a lot of the scenes are set in the day, there's a lot of light. Um, I think and the CGI looked real clean, looked real solid. I think, at least on the screen in action and whatnot. I think that this movie could be a pretty banger demo piece of content when it comes home. If hopefully it looks as good as Minecraft did, and then of course some of the scenes are going to be just fantastic. The fights, like the fight against the big kaiju creature in Metropolis, like there'll be some base scenes, there'll be some Atmos things going on, a lot of effects and whatnot. So I think this, and obviously just a fun movie or like a fun character setting, a fun movie to demo as well, and something that people. Um, a lot of people would recognize versus maybe some of the demo scenes from movies that we play in our theaters that are from movies that are a little more esoteric or some edgy sci-fi stuff or whatever, like fighting the kaiju is I think is a pretty accessible scene. I think it's going to play really well when it comes home. So um, excited for that. Um, so yeah, if I go through some of my thoughts again, I liked it. I liked it a lot more than anything that I have to nitpick about it, and I think it's a really great start for the new DC universe. Essentially, um, I think it was pretty action packed. A lot of a lot of stuff going on. It was a very active movie, scene to scene, and kind of like storyline thread to storyline thread. A lot of characters and stuff as well. It set up a lot. Of the new DC universe, and they don't have the time to make they don't have the time to organically make films over 5 years or whatever before getting before getting to a Justice League like Marvel did with from Iron Man 1, whatever, to Avengers, whatever period of time that was, 4 years or so maybe. They gotta hit the ground running on this now, and I think these some of these characters, case in point, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, they're so ubiquitous in our culture that, like, we don't necessarily need another origin story, which I'm glad they didn't do. Um, at the beginning of the movie, there's a scroll of text, basically like Star Wars Episode 4. Boom, here we go. We're right in. Hey, Superman came to Earth, and it actually set what was going on in the story. Like, um, so many years ago, this happened. A couple years ago, this happened. So many months ago, this happened. So many days ago, so many hours, and then boom, we're right in. We're right into the movie, picking up action and plot engagement and stuff in stride. So they backfill in a little bit more kind of as they go, but I thought that was pretty good. I saw an Instagram post. I think it was a quote. I think it was a quote from James Gunn, basically saying that a couple of things that he feels that we don't need to see in cinema ever again, which is like a baby in a spacecraft landing in Kansas, two parents getting shot in an alley, right in a young son surviving, basically saying that this stuff it's already in our culture. We don't need to show that. Let's get on to some other storytelling. And so that was very efficient, and I appreciate it. To the point too, where like my kids, they know much more about Marvel stuff, Marvel heroes. So as we were going in the show, I'm like, here's a couple of things to know about Superman. And then they actually laid most of that same stuff out right in the text pop up, which was pretty good, I thought. But yeah, they're trying to pack a lot of stuff into this movie in order to lay a lot of groundwork. So I understand why maybe some people are criticizing that it's a little bit muddled, it's a little bit thick, but they did what they had to do. They had to rip the band-aid off of getting a lot of stuff in here and covering a lot. Um, at the same time, I think the casting was really good in some of the pictures and stuff. What is his name? Corset. He, I think Henry Cavill is a beefier guy. I'm a lifter. I'm a gym guy. I appreciate like bulky physiques and muscle builds and stuff like that. Um, but I thought he looked pretty good. I think he played the part actually really well. And the way he talked, his mannerisms, he looked the part in the movie. Maybe that I was feeling, maybe I wasn't feeling it so much in like just the press pictures or in the initial trailers or whatever, but through the course of the movie, I really came to like I really came to like his casting and the other thing and pretty much everybody else. Like uh, Mr. Terrific, Guy Gardner. There was a lot of fantastically done characters. Even like Jimmy Olsen, Lois, um, and Lex. Like wow, like I think they really nailed the casting. I really liked how the movie was very comic book. It just felt comic booky in a sense, in a way that maybe other movies don't always feel so comic booky. That may not make a lot of sense, but as a longtime comic book reader, um, it hit strong in that regard. And I like that they had a lot of like smaller comic book elements inspired, um, or drawn specifically from certain facts or stories or whatnot. Like, and I think James Gunn is pretty good with that. Guardians of the Galaxy, and the stuff he did in the Marvel Universe was good like that as well. Again, I think it looked great, and I think they jumped in at a great point. Basically, Clark, having been Superman, acting actively, um, visible in the world, being Superman, I think for a period of about 3 years, but still, I guess probably in his midish 20s. Um, I don't know if they ever really established like his age at the time, but I don't want to see Superboy, you know, um, and I don't want to see necessarily a much older Superman. I think a younger Superman, established, and kind of confident, established in his life and confident in his stuff, not just newly coming to Metropolis and like getting all this stuff set up, but let's jump in a little further along than that. But at a point still where he's still a little bit green, he's still got things to learn. He can make some mistakes, he can get beat up a bit. I think that was a great point for it to be. Um, so I overall, again, I was entertained. I was definitely entertained, and I'm very hopeful for kind of what they do next with it. So let's see. Terminator saying, "Love Man of Steel and Batman. Haven't seen anything yeah from this new Superman. Gives me hope that I'll like it." Yeah, I went in very neutral. I went in feeling very neutral, and I came out feeling pretty good about it. The family generally liked it as well. Everybody said they thought it was good. Early on, like in the first 20 minutes, I started to fear that like, oh, this is gonna. It was a little dense. Like, is this too dense for my kids that aren't like, or even for my wife, if you're not like a DC fan, um, and you're not just seeing like the big three uh, characters of DC, you know, Element Man, like there's shades of a lot of other characters popping up, but I think it all came together pretty good. Julius saying he's also a Henry Cavill fan. Yeah, I think Henry Cavill, I did great. In other roles, I think he's done well. I hope he finds finds his way over to the Marvel universe, maybe to do something impactful there. I think he's been working on like Voltron. I mean, the thing I like about Henry Cavill, as much as what if like regardless of like liking him as Superman or not, like the guy's like he's a pop culture geek, like all of us, right? He's a PC gamer. He builds his PCs. He likes all the same kind of stuff that that we do. So super respect for that. So there's a lot of criticisms as well, though, that I thought were interesting that I've seen about it. I think I've seen a lot of mentions about how weak he is, but I think some of this too is I think more driven. It's a gender driven criticism, not just like I saw the movie and this is what I thought. People that have I don't know that don't even have a vested interest per se, but just want to knock stuff, or they think what was happening before was superior, so they just want this to fail. So they're gonna say whatever they say about it, but I don't think that Superman looked weak in the movie. He definitely got beaten up. He got kind of marginalized a couple times. Um, but I think it was a little bit balanced. And going back to what I was saying, that this character has been Superman for a period of 3 years, not a decade or more or whatever. He's still kind of green. So fighting, like fighting skills, this Superman hasn't met Batman, right? Who's like kind of one of the ultimate hand to hand fighters in the DC universe. Let's say could teach Clark a thing or two about strategy and like using his powers effectively and how to fight, right, and stuff like that. Um, so he hasn't had that. He hasn't really made a, a ton of close friends in the superhero community or the metahuman community yet. So he's kind of like this Superman is just relying on his powers, like brute force, like powers and heart, basically, is what he's got. Um, and so he doesn't have developed skills and experience. So he was still a powerhouse when it mattered. Holding up, holding up buildings and punching and grabbing and the big kaiju creature and stuff like that was all pretty good. But he lost when the fighting got more like strategic, when like knowing how to fight better would have served him better, or maybe a little bit about using his powers a little bit more strategically, something like that. So again, I think that was more of a function of this is a younger, somewhat inexperienced Superman, um, and he's going to lose. And Superman's a tough character anyway to even make a movie of or write in comic books because, for all intents and purposes, he's untouchable. He's as strong as you can get and vulnerable as you can get. Weaknesses to like magic and the kryptonite thing, but it's a hard he's a hard character to challenge in some ways. Um, so yeah, it is what it is. So the other thing that I saw a lot of or well, not even criticisms, but I think one of the interesting things, and I think it reflects positively on the movie, is and we said this ourselves in our family as we were leaving, walking out and driving home, is like, oh, like this character stole the show. Like Mr. Terrific, like steals every scene he's in. Nathan Fillion, Guy Gardner, like the guy just like he has Guy Gardner charisma, anti charisma because Guy Gardner is just a super prick and nobody likes him. Um, but man, he shined in every scene. Everybody loves the dog, right? Crypto. Crypto stole every scene that he was in. Lex Luthor was like awesome. Like I forget the actor's name, but the guy that was Lex kind of stole every scene. So I think it's kind of a good problem to say like if just one character or one element of the movie would have stolen the scene away from like Superman being kind of the front and center showcase, then that might have been a problem for the movie. But I think when like the same person says that didn't mean to do that. The same person says that all these different disparate characters stole the show, or you have all these different people having opinions that like this character or that character right stole the show. It means that everything was really good, like the rising tide of all of the casting, and all of these characters just played so well in the movie. And I'll have to say too that like Mr. Terrific as a character in the comics is never excited me at all. Like this guy, this character just seems a little bit lame in some respects. He's like super genius and stuff, that's fine, I can respect that. He's got his little spheres. Um they're not circles, they're spheres. um it just doesn't seem that interesting, the but he played really well, and I think the actor did a really great job. And again, the Guy Gardner, super prick. You just want to you just want to like dislike the guy. He's just such a jerk, and he pulled it off super well. The dog Crypto was good overall. I think there might have been a little bit too much of the dog though. Um, I think they leaned a little bit heavy into Crypto, and like in terms of like Crypto being an active um, combat element in the movie. It's like almost like sometimes Superman was like a Dungeons and Dragons ranger or something. Like he or a let the dog go and let Superman save the day. Um, but I'm sure the animal lovers out there liked it. Again, there's all this discussion, I think, and feedback like politicizing the movie and stuff, and there's a big plot element, of course, of like one country invading another country. Of course we have that. We have countries at war and country to country border invasions and stuff going on. So I think that I think it worked fine. It's like that plot idea is relevant, it's relevant to our times. But I never felt the thing that I was afraid of and that I wouldn't want lights are going out, that I wouldn't want to have happen, would or when I go in there, is that I don't want to be preached to, right? I just want to watch a cool superhero movie. I don't necessarily want to watch James Gunn's or anybody else's political commentary. I don't need Barovia in whatever the other country was, to be an allegory for Russia and Ukraine or Iran and Israel or anybody else. Like, tell me a Superman story. I don't need a Earth current times geopolitical lecture of some director or producer or whoever's opinions. And so I think a lot of people are saying that about the movie, but I didn't get that sense. So and I think that was for the best and or for the better and for the best. Um, that maybe the people that are saying those things are just doing that to politicize something rather than um, actually feeling that way. Maybe they really do feel that way, but I didn't have any trouble with it. The idea of this border invasion served the plot of the conflict, um, or the execution of the conflict between Lex Luthor and Superman, and even the engagement was minimized. And I think actually they really used the idea of like your of superhero, right? Superman's choices, trying to do the right thing, trying to save lives, trying to save people. What is the right thing to do? Should you stop? Should he have stopped an aggressive invasion, or should he not have? And I think the scene actually where, and it was in some of the trailers, I think, where Lois was interviewing him after their um, initial conversation about it the one evening, and their engagement got heated because she's asking him really tough questions about kind of the morality and the right and wrong, and about the things that he did, and he's like, I'm saving lives, and it's like, well, there's more to it than that. So like, I think they really did a good job with all of that stuff, and I didn't feel that that I was watching any real world um, political or politicizing lecture or anything like that. There definitely was a lot going on. Like I said, I was able to keep up. I think the family was able to keep up. I think they had to do it. They had to get all this stuff in there because they don't have the time to set up like 6 movies and deep origin stories and all of that. They got to get to making really good content about these characters. They need to bring these characters together, and they need to set up a path and a plan. And so, establish the universe, do it fast, rip off the band-aid, and let's get moving. And then maybe some of the movies after that can slow down a little bit, be a little bit more focused or whatnot. But it is what it is. I do think maybe they also popped a little too much humor in. I think there's still like a running. Um, so you don't want to. I don't think you want a superhero movie to be so heavy that it's like it's just like dark and foreboding. I think that's actually some of the mistakes that were made with some of the DC movies, like Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman and stuff like that. Is they're just dark and they're heavy. Like these heroes should be spotlights for good and whatnot. With that said, you want there's a difference between that, I guess, and overdoing the humor. And I think some of the superhero content has gone way past the point of like of trying to cram laughs in. And sometimes they'll, and even in Superman a little bit, it was like so close. I had read a couple criticisms that like the heavy moments are offset by humor, like that's too close or too quick, and then the humor just, it like just deletes the emotional weight of like this touching scene. Um, and I'd seen a reference to one scene in particular, conversation between Pa Kent and Clark and Superman. Very heavy father son conversation. I shed a tear. My eyes started welling up, and I was expecting there to be like a dumb, like just a dumb joke or something, like to end this heavy moment, based on some other comment that I had read, and that didn't happen actually. So it was good in that moment, but in still, I think you got to really manage the humor in these movies. Otherwise, the weight, the emotional weight, um, the ramifications, the depth starts to disintegrate a bit, and it just kind of becomes a joke. And that's the problem that Marvel has had for a little while. Is they've turned their movies into jokes, caricatures of themselves, in some cases. So a couple of scenes did get pretty dark, so I guess spoiler warning, or not spoiler warning, but maybe warning if you've got littler kids. Um, I think there's basically a straight up gun to the head execution that I'm like, wow, that yeah. I didn't look at my wife, because if I looked at her right and during that scene, she would have looked at me and like, why did we come watch this movie with our son? So I was kind of surprised that they actually did that. I know we want to establish like that evil characters are evil, but that one was pretty harsh. Um, and I think they could have done that scene without having to do that. Like the guy could have been just beat up. But that was just cold hard. And by that point, they were already well on their way to like establishing like the depths of Luther's evil. And so um, that one that one was a little over the top because this movie needs to be accessible. You need to be able to get this needs to be like a very wide spectrum of ages. You want to get the some younger kids to be new fans of this character, and build up off of DC. And you go too far with violence, violence and sexy scenes and whatever, and you're losing the ability for it to be that. Like Deadpool and Wolverine was great, but it's limited audience. You're not getting, you shouldn't be getting any kids to be fans of Deadpool. Um, and expanding the footprint, right, or bringing a next generation of fans in. So I think they need to be a little kind of careful with that. Um, and I was very surprised as well by the death of the other co-conspirator in the plot, just basically being dropped, dropped to the ground by one of the other heroes. Like, why would a hero do this? And she's like, well, you won't do that, but I would. But then, like, everybody just lets her get away with that. Like, how is Superman fine collaborating or semi collaborating with a team where one of the characters on that team is going to do something like that? So I think those, if anything, like that's probably my biggest criticisms of the whole movie is like those two scenes were they were unbalanced, and I don't think they should have done those two scenes that way. Um, especially especially for this movie and trying to expand its footprint. I meant to actually, I didn't even look up actually what it was rated. I assume it was rated PG-13, and I thought I had a pretty good feel like that. Oh, this is going to be fine. Yeah, PG-13. So it is PG-13. So I guess those couple of scenes are fine in a PG-13 movie. It's not PG. I wouldn't expect it to be PG, but still, I think they could have. I, I I think those scenes should have been different, in order to still maintain a PG-13 rating, but still have it have those two moments not be so extreme for a potentially younger viewer that maybe in there, as it is sometimes even with the Marvel stuff, and some other movies that we watch as well. I'm always on the edge, or like I just pucker in my seat that like, oh, like that super violent moment or thing that was shown, like it didn't have to be shown that way. It could have been done differently, but still maintained the integrity of the scene. And then the big thing. So here, I guess this is a little bit, probably the most spoilerish. I've tried to be a little bit towing the line between, not spoiling a bunch of the movie, but still wanting to say some things about it. But um, the concept of like the parent his the Kryptonian parents message. So the theme of the movie is very much like it's like a nature versus nurture thing, and you get to choose who you want to be by virtue of how you want to behave and the choices that you make, in the way that you act, um, not just the way that you were born or maybe some element of predestiny or whatever for you. And so the concept of Superman's Kryptonian parents, him actually kind of misconstruing, um, the only message that he has from them, the only recording that he has from them, to basically, we're sending you to this world to do good and inspire hope. That's awesome. That's basically Superman. But then the rest of the message, is, well, do that, but yeah, kind of like take over the planet at the same time. That's not really been an element of like Superman lore or mythos, outside of maybe some type of like Elseworld story, or like a non-core continuity type story. And it just totally smacks of Invincible. If anybody is watching the Invincible, show, or you've read those comics as well, I read the whole Invincible comic run. Probably one of the greatest like superhero, um, series ever published. 150 odd issues, from Robert Kirkman, same guy that created Walking Dead, um, is behind Invincible. But they're doing that show. They're doing that comic series as an animated show on Amazon. Very adult, violent, edgy, plots and story beats and all of that stuff, but just holistically really well done. And in Invincible, the whole the whole premise of Invincible is superpowered aliens, akin essentially to Superman, seeding out into the universe to like to silently like subvert, breed, their race and grow and take over other planets. And so, like, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to play. If they'll come back to this as a major theme, um, but you can definitely you'll see from the beginning, how Superman engages with the concept of his parents from a Kryptonian perspective, to the way that he engages with the inspiration of his parents from an Earth perspective, in like the last scene of the movie. There's kind of a shift there, and it's fine. Like the Kents are really supposed to be the inspiration behind Superman, right? Just good natured, down to earth, rural American, values, family, etc. But yeah, that there was the big swerve of of building the rebuilding the Kryptonian race on Earth, or directing him to do that, and the concept of like building the harem. It's like, oh my god, do you guys have to say this like so many times? Um, Again, the younger audience thing. Okay, we got it. He's gonna go populate. We understand how he's gonna populate. We don't have to keep saying like referring to that concept over and over and over again. But yeah, at the end of the day, I dug it. I think it was really good. I'd be excited to watch it again. Probably do so, not definitely not at the theater, but when it comes home. Um, there's more nuance I think to pick up, and other things. And I'm excited that like the DC universe could be on a stronger footing, and have some legs to it. So Joe's saying he's also a big fan of Henry Cavill era. Yeah, darker and grittier, but hopeful. Want to like it. Yep. How long was it? I think it was 2 hours and 9 minutes. 2:09 or something, just a little bit over 2 hours. So not too long, not too short. I think that two-ish hours is a good 2:15 is a nice length for a movie. Better than 3 hours and some of these some of these epics that we get. Um, Terminator saying, I don't feel the need to rush to Justice League. Yeah, it'll be a repeat of the DCU. Yeah, there was another. I think it was an IG post that I read that like alluding to the idea that like they have a plan in mind. They have a plan in mind for some kind of epic storytelling, and but they're keeping it under wraps because they don't want it. They basically don't want the idea of where they could be going like stolen or whatnot. So, um, but I think they've had a plan. I mean, they definitely set the seeds for the Justice League, right? They called them. They make it a bit of a joke actually throughout the Superman movie. They call the combination of Mister Terrific, um, the Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, and Hawk Girl, plus kind of Superman starting to like engage with them, not necessarily being a full fledged team member, but he's obviously crossed paths with them in this universe. They've fought some villains and some creatures, and saved some lives and saved some cities and stuff together. Um, but they call themselves the Justice Gang. Um, and they make it a thing about like, well, what's our name going to be? But very, very deliberately, um, their headquarters is the Hall of Justice, and the building looks like the like classic DC, Hall of Justice building where the Justice League would reside. So, and it looked actually like the couple of scenes that were set in and around the Hall of Justice. It looked like it was kind of under construction, right? Things were being set up, things were being built there, and so the Justice Gang should be what evolves into the concept of the Justice League, and we'll get some of the other big heroes to pop up, in other movies. So, yeah, welcome segment. Hey Joe, I'm looking forward to checking out Superman later this week. Yeah, BFI IMAX in London. Yeah, I mean, it played really well. Played really well in the Super IMAX. I thought it looked great. Really great special effects. Um, Audio video experience was solid. Can't wait for it to come home. The other thing that I've seen a lot of, and now I think I can kind of agree with it, is like they almost should just take the Batman, the Matt Reeves Batman, and just make him the Batman of this universe. I think they would actually, I think they could actually play together. So it's going to be interesting what they do there. It's like they already have this kind of other Batman uh, universe being built out that has a plan to make another movie. It has multiple pieces of content with the Penguin series, and whatnot. So why are you going to invest money and time on a Batman that's not connected to this other like larger DC endeavor? Are you literally going to be making movies? Are you literally going to be making movies with two intertwining each other, or two movies in the same year in different Batman? You're going to confuse people that are just kind of more casual fans of this larger groups of people that would come spend their money to see these movies and stuff, but aren't going to get like the nuance of like two kind of side by side universes and whatnot. So and we'll see where we go from here. So I think next up is the Supergirl. And she showed up. They gave her a moment. Again, she was a little bit of a scene stealer at the very end. The story that they're going to use as the basis for Supergirl is a really good story. It's a very popular Supergirl story. Supergirl herself, there's been multiple incarnations of Supergirl over the decades, and I think the one that we see in the movies will be a bit of an amalgam of the origins of multiple variations of Supergirl that we've seen. Um, but I think it'll be a pretty fun one. Supergirl that's like kind of a party girl, Supergirl that's kind of like wounded as well, and has more um, hurt and pain and whatnot um, in her because of her age and how she engaged with the destruction of Krypton versus Superman himself, Kal-El being a baby and being sent away. And then I think Lanterns is the other one that's coming this year. I think this fall or whatnot, with Guy Gardner, Hal Jordan, and John Stewart. So multiple Green Lanterns, like space cop um, uh, type episodic series to HBO Max. But my one holdout, I guess I'm gonna have to pick and choose what elements of this DC universe the family engages with versus what elements I engage with on my own. This is definitely the case that like DC tends to skew older. I'm glad that this one was more accessible despite a couple of elements of the movie, but I'm pretty sure Lanterns is going to be a mature audience. And the other Peacemaker as well is technically part of this. No, I never did watch Peacemaker. I'm gonna have to go back and watch Peacemaker. He actually did show up in the movie as well. um, I'm pretty sure that's mature audience. I did watch Creature Commandos, 100% mature audience. So yeah, it's interesting that they're making that choice. That by and large, like the the larger contingent of the new DC universe stuff isn't all audiences. So yeah, Julius, why do you think Black Adam wasn't successful? I know we never did watch Black Adam. I gave up after Justice League. Not the never I never actually did watch the Zack Snyder cut. Never watched Wonder Woman 84, never watched the other Flash. Um I wasn't digging the DC universe, and we were as a family we were trying to catch up to the Marvel universe through the Marvel universe history over these last couple of years or 18 months or so. So we did watch Shazam, um, and then the two Shazam movies, but we never did watch Black Adam. So um, I think uh, I think the bigger problem that happened there, as I understand it, was personal politics and The Rock. And I think The Rock, I think The Rock actually single handedly kind of destroyed that corner of the DC movie universe by virtue of like I think elements of like refusing to play, wanting to be a hero, refusing to play Black Adam as a villain, um, and blocking certain creative things that needed to happen. And then the movie itself kind of tanked, and they were just like done with it. So um, Shazam got Shazam in his corner of the DC movie dome got the short end of the stick because of people's attitudes and demeanors and inability to work for the greater good rather than like being self-interested, I think, and only working for themselves. All right, so I teased earlier uh, the concept of I didn't like going to this. I didn't like the theater experience this time. So the mechanics, the presentation was fine. Look, sound, all of that. Again, now that we've been back to back fairly quickly, we went and saw the Thunderbolts, and I'm like, yeah, this was kind of okay. In the Thunderbolts, we were like the only ones there. So going to the Thunderbolts was a bit of a red herring or a false pretense about what it means to be into a commercial theater viewing with lots of people around you, because we were essentially private. I think there was less than 10 other people in the room when we watched Thunderbolts, and they were sitting like nowhere near us. But that wasn't the case for Superman. So it wasn't a full theater, but it was, I'd say, maybe 2/3 ish full, which is a lot more, an order of magnitude more people there than were present with Thunderbolts. And I don't know how many multiple times like people took me out of the movie. Um, just people walking by, people messing with their phones still. There was one dude sitting kind of like kitty corner. I don't know if he was actually one row behind us or it was two rows behind us. And I don't fault him. He was having a good time. He was digging the movie. But man, he was like laughing at like everything, even stuff that wasn't really even that funny. And it's just like watching the scene, this dude's like cackling over here. And it's like, oh my God. Like I'd rather be at home. I just would rather be at home. I wish, but I want to watch this movie. I want to watch this movie now, but I don't want to be here. I wish there was an affordable solution for that. I wish the concept of being able to for premium rental or premium access, that we were starting to get more of out of COVID had stuck around. See, that seems to have started to diminish a little bit nowadays, where I think the only time that we really get much by the way of premium access tends to be more of like when something doesn't perform well and it gets pulled. But when something is like brand new, it's hyped, it's doing well, then those premium windows are not super small. So, but I don't know. We already bought the tickets for Fantastic Four, and we're going Friday night. We are going early though. I'm going to take a couple hours off of work at the end of the day, and we're going to go at like 4 o'clock rather than like 7 o'clock. So I hope, I don't know what that means actually in terms of what the audience may be, but that theater is probably going to be packed. And then I don't know what was going on when we left, but we were walking out of the theater, and could we come around kind of into the lobby? The men's room entrance is right there. I kind of had to use the restroom, but it's like it's not that long to get home. I can just wait. Peeking in and seeing like the line of dudes waiting to use the bathroom. My son's like, I got to go to the bathroom or whatever. And I look on the ground, and so like the entrance to the men's room, there's there's guys lined up all the way out essentially of the restroom waiting to use the facilities. And then but the other half, there's stuff on the floor, and it's like trailing to the into the bathroom. The way the door goes, you can kind of see down a little bit of a pathway, and then at 90 degrees to the right, and then that's the proper part of the bathroom. And I look at what's not sitting on the ground here, a little plop of something, and then a little space, another little like plop of something. And and then over on the other side of me, I hear a conversation where this guy is like really worked up, and he's talking to one of the people that work there. And I caught their conversation, so I started listening to it. So this dude's talking to the worker. The worker's like some teenage kid. Like he's just got his sweeper, and he's like, I don't know what's going on, or like what I can do about this. Like, you need to talk to a manager or something. But the guy's telling him like there's like feces all over the bathroom. There's literally like, he's like, guy, there's like, it's disgusting. It's terrible in there. Like, what are people doing? And so what was on the floor coming out of the bathroom was poop, like literally like droplets, like a trail. And so I don't know if somebody had a really bad experience, somebody got sick, um, didn't make it in, didn't make it out, if this was like on purpose or what. But then I look for my son. I'm like, oh my God, like, did he go in there to try to use the bathroom? and turned around. He was standing right there. He's like, "No, the line's really long. I'm gonna wait." I'm like, "Yeah, let's like we're not going in there. Like, let's just go home." Like, how? So then the other dude's still like almost like yelling at this kid, sweeper kid, to like do something about it because there's fecal matter all over the bathroom. It's like, okay, I don't want to go to the show. I just want to stay home, um, where I can control the experience. I can control the people that I'm around, um, and 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 just focus on watching the movie. So I don't know what was happening there. If anybody watching this happened to be um, at the Imagine Theater in Novi Sunday night, um, I think things got wild. And if somebody was like, if somebody just legit got sick, couldn't make it, couldn't manage it, well, I feel really bad for that person. Like that's terrible to have that happen to you and have to deal with that in a big public crowded place and stuff. But uh it was yeah. I'm so glad that my son didn't just walk in there because he wouldn't have paid any attention to anything. He would have walked right over top of whatever it was that was on the ground or on the walls or in the space and whatever was inside there around the corner. I don't even want to know. So we're going back there for Fantastic Four, but I'm really, really. It's another one. Like I just don't want to wait to see that movie. But I think after Fantastic Four, I may reconsider the frequency of how much we actually want to go to to the commercial theater. There's some really good movies coming out too. Like Bad Guys 2 is going to be a really popular one that we're going to want to see. I don't know that they'll even put that on the Super EMX screen though, but it's like I don't know. After this, we may just wait until stuff comes. I'm going to buy it on Kaleidescape anyway, so I'm basically double dipping to pay $65 for movie tickets and then buy the movie for 30-40 bucks anyway, on Kaleidescape and or Apple TV if I might want to actually watch the special features and stuff, in case Kaleidescape doesn't have them. So yeah, we'll see. High Finest, Snyder Cut, actually worth the watch. Give it a chance. Yeah, at some point. Um, it's so long. It's so long. It's hard to come up with the time. And again, like those movies aren't like they're not super family friendly, like darker, edgier, rougher, more mature. So they're not going to be family picks to like go back and revisit them anytime soon. So we'll see. Sigmund saying, where I am, they have staff making sure people turn off their phones. Yeah, pre-announcement. Yeah, there's always a pre-announcement, but people don't listen. Um, studios resharing people. Huh. Studios resharing people taking photos and videos. Yeah, if they're actually like promoting it, that's kind of lame. Shit's saying, "Where's the audio pass through?" There has been no new betas, as far as I know, released this week. I did update my phone and my iPad to to a beta, but that was a beta update hanging from last week. I'm just checking my phone to see if any more updates have come, but I don't think there was anything new going on. Yeah, iOS is up to date. 26 23A5 to 87G early preview build. So we'll see. Continue to wait for the audio pass through. There was one question as well that I started a little while ago, Paul, if you're still hanging out. Jeremy says he purchased his first TV series on Kaleidescape today, which was Smallville. Am I correct? You cannot download individual episodes. That is correct. I don't do a lot of TV episodic on my Kaleidescape. Actually, when it comes to episodic stuff, I tend to go to more just accept streaming for that. But my understanding is that you have to download. Yeah, you have to download in blocks or seasons, like the granularity um, of episodic content for Kaleidescape is bigger units. You can't do individual episodes, which actually makes the concept of leveraging Kaleidescape for episodic content. If you have only a V or particularly an E, you may not even have enough storage to download full full extended seasons or series. Sorry, of certain shows, just because there could be a lot of content and they're so big. Like if I look at we'll be wrapping up here in just a minute. If anybody has any other questions, please pop them out. Pop them in the chat now. We'll try to get to what we can get to. Yeah, like one season, season 2 of Game of Thrones is 300 gig. They're probably all about the same. 318 season 1, season 2 was, I think that was like a little under 300. 306 for season 3. So, like, if you wanted to have the entirety of Game of Thrones, yeah, they're all about 300 gig. Locally available to watch, about 239 for season 8. So, how many seasons of there were there? Yeah, 8 seasons. So, what is it? You need about 2 terabytes, roughly. So you're not fitting that. You're not fitting that on a Strato E or a Strato V, and even just one season, right on an E is more than half your capacity, 2/3 or more of your capacity. So be careful with that stuff, and you may need to end up considering a Tera if you want to do a lot more episodic stuff, episodic content. Same thing for the DIYers, like ripping content and whatever, maintaining a server. Anybody that's done that knows that as soon as you start storing television series, like your storage needs, they go way up versus movies. So yeah, so let's wind it down. Definitely I gotta get upstairs, get the kids to their stuff. We got two kids activities going on tonight. One quick note, I think I'll actually put I'll put a community post up for it tomorrow. Audio Advice did give me a discount code. There's no benefit to me or whatever necessarily, but if you are considering buying tickets for Audio Advice Live, the code that I'll put up in a scheduled post tomorrow is good for $10 off. I will be there, so hope to see some folks there. I think I'm probably skipping Cedia though. I probably really should be going to Cedia, but I think at this point I'm feeling more likely that I won't. But yeah, we'll see. Other announcements in terms of content. So I did put out last Thursday was the extended review of the chairs, the Audio Device Revelation home theater seats. Check that video out if you're interested in these. The original first take review from late 2023 is there on the channel, of course, and then the follow-up review. Again, still really digging these. They I'd rather sit in this than the seat that I was sitting at Imagine. So, and they're holding up great. So I talked about that there. The next video that I have, it needs to get edited, but I do hope to get it edited before we leave for our long weekend, and schedule it to post this Thursday. Is a streaming face-off. So I did a check-in basically on all the services, Apple TV, both TV Plus and purchase content, Netflix, Peacock, Movies Anywhere, Fandango, Netflix. Did I say Netflix? I don't even remember. Like several services, basically everything I have access to, everything that I'm currently paying for. Hulu, I think, was in there. Not Paramount Plus. I did let my Paramount Plus subscription lapse. There's just nothing on Paramount Plus that I'm ever been interested in watching. So that one I don't have, so I couldn't test it. But yeah, so hopefully we'll get that edited. And then I want to do, in one of the coming Monday shows here, we'll talk about that in a bit of an extended way, and maybe even like be able to pull it up and we can check individual pieces of content on certain streaming apps, like look up stuff live, take requests. What's the quality of this show, or what's the quality of this movie? If I can access it and stuff, maybe we'll do that for fun. So we'll break that down in a future one. And I'm hoping maybe that it will work out. Next Monday will be a stream with Sammy Prescott Jr. Coming on to blow out all the details about the video calibration that he did in here, which feels like it was yesterday, but was like legit last October. So we're closer to the 1 year mark. We're closer to it being a whole year ago than we are now when it actually happened. But I've been chatting with Sammy, just a matter of like availability and whatnot. But I think that'll be cool and fun to have him on, and again, basically detail everything that he did to calibrate the room, calibrate the projector, all the video chain, integration with the Mad VR, the advanced like 3D LUT that he ran, and all that stuff. So should have some cool content coming up these next couple of weeks, and then boom, we'll be right in from there, right into Audio Device Live Weekend. So cool stuff. Last couple comments and questions, then we'll call it a day here. Chintapit saying, do you have a Dolby Cinema near? Yes, we have an AMC. It used to be for a long while the like full Dolby Cinema that we had in the Detroit area was farther away from me. It was like east side of Detroit. We actually made the drive to go there. We went and saw with some friends one of the sequel trilogy of Star Wars. I think it might have been the last one. But they added a full like Dolby Cinema screening room to an AMC that's over here closer, which is cool. We've only been there once. For whatever reason, I don't know why. I think we got some free tickets or something. We went and saw Minions, and oh my god, I hated that experience. I think there's actually a video about that on the channel. I think I was doing YouTube already when we went and saw that. That theater was so loud and was so cold. Oh my god, it felt like it was like some kind of audio video torture. Like I was just like shivering, freezing cold. I had shorts and a t-shirt on, and then the audio of that movie was just, oh my god, it was so freaking hot that I think like my body went into like a protection mode, and it like started shutting its systems down with all of that sensory input freezing so much, and just this audio like barrage attack on me. I like fell asleep. I my body just like, oh, it was terrible. I didn't. So I don't know if that was just a one-off bad experience, but the one AMC Dolby Cinema experience here that we did have was not good. Sigmund, last couple of questions. What I'd be really interested in is visual Atmos comparison. Visual Atmos comparison being skate. Yeah, I think the only thing that can really do that is a Trinoff, but stay tuned. Never know. You never know what could happen in the long run in the Techthusiasm home theater. And then Paul, Smallville was on sale for $10 a season. Wow, nice. Season 1 to 10. Yeah, the episodic content goes on sale as well. Definitely, it's high quality. It just have to, particularly if it's 4K, it's going to be big downloads. But yeah, you can't download individual episodes and watch them. All right, I got to run. Dinner time. Family's waiting. Got to get the kid to his aerial gymnastics class, and I actually need to talk to my daughter about the way the home theater was left when the teenagers used it on Saturday night. I am disappointed once again. I think the teenagers are going to get banned from the Techthusiasm home theater. So story maybe for next week. All right. Thanks everybody. Thanks Julius. We'll talk to you soon. Go watch Superman. I think it's worth seeing early. If you want to wait for the home release, certainly that I understand why we all want to wait to watch it in the comfort of our own systems and own home theaters. Even my son was like, "Yeah, Dad, this theater is pretty good, but it just doesn't have the bass." I'm like, "Yep, you can't get bass in a big room like this. Our chairs shake, and they have tactile. There's no tactile there." So, but it was good. I give it a recommendation. I think it's great, and I'm excited for the future of the DC cinematic universe, the new DC cinematic universe. So thanks so much for watching, coming back for more home theater discussion and fun. Hope everybody has a great week. See you soon.